The false heiress, wielding her deceitful heart, has harmed me. I have transformed her very essence. This time, it is her demise that awaits. When the impoverished student came to my home beseeching me to relinquish my childhood companion, my entire family heard her innermost thoughts. Should I reveal to them that the apocalypse is imminent? Will Xinqiang become the first of the undead, leading to the demise of her entire family? Meanwhile, I, having been reborn, have already prepared a sanctuary in my rural hometown. If they assist me in dismantling the bond between Xinqiang and Fuxi, I shall allow the three of them to reside with me. As expected, my parents and elder brother were easily swayed by her words. She audaciously fabricated a tale that I was the true heiress mistakenly swapped over 2 decades ago, and proceeded to cast me out of my own home. I waited and waited, but instead of the apocalypse, I received the shocking news that the false heiress had married and bore children with my betrothed. When I confronted them, my parents and brother brutally took my life. Upon reopening my eyes, I found myself back on the day when the impoverished student first approached me. This time, I have acquired the power to alter her innermost voice, and I shall not let her escape my grasp. May I inquire if this is the residence of Xinqiang? I am her classmate, Zhou Xinran. Upon the door's opening, I was met with the visage I loathed with every fiber of my being. Memories from my previous life surged within me, and upon seeing her once more, an endless tide of hatred consumed me. I glared at her with disdain. What brings you here? Upon noticing me, she immediately feigned a pitiful demeanor, tiptoeing and peering into the house incessantly. Her lips uttered, "Sister, I have come to seek your help," while her thoughts echoed, "Damn it, this Shin wretch is indeed wealthy. Why is it that we are both women, yet she is a pampered heiress while I am merely a struggling student? It is utterly unjust." This entire scenario unfolded just as it had in my past life, and in that instant, the reality of my rebirth struck me. In my previous existence, I was astonished to overhear her inner musings. Just as I was about to respond, she burst in, greeting my parents and brother, who had come to welcome guests. While she appeared demure and courteous, her mind was filled with peculiar thoughts. Xinqiang is indeed a calamity. The thought that such a wonderful family would perish due to her in 3 days fills me with anguish. How can I warn them? In just 3 days, we will be thrust into a zombie apocalypse, and the first zombie will be Xinqiang, who will turn on her own kin. My brother Xin Di will be torn apart and devoured by her. My uncle will be dismembered and preserved in the refrigerator. My aunt will be offered to other zombies as sustenance. Upon hearing this, our entire family descended into a state of abject panic. All eyes fixed upon me as if I were the villain Zhou Xinran had described. At that moment, Zhou Xinran's thoughts resounded again. As for me, reborn, I have already prepared a safe haven in my rural ancestral home. If they assist me in breaking apart Xinqiang and Fuxi, I shall allow them to reside there with me. I have stockpiled an abundance of supplies and advanced weaponry. I will undoubtedly protect everyone. My family believed her words implicitly, disregarding my objections and doubts. I still struggled to comprehend why they would trust a struggling student. Zhou Xinran's family was impoverished. How could she afford such an array of resources? And in Huagua, how could she possess weapons? It was clearly a fabrication. Yet, my parents and brother dismissed my counsel outright, branding me the epitome of wickedness. That very day, they fabricated a false paternity test, proclaiming to everyone that I was an illegitimate child. That evening, they cast me out, welcoming Zhou Xinran, the counterfeit heiress, back into the Shun household. Fate granted me the chance of rebirth and the ability to alter her thoughts. In this life, I shall ensure her demise. 2. At this moment, Zhou Xinran stood in my living room, graciously greeting everyone. "Hello, uncle and aunt. Greetings, brother." Everyone responded with smiles and polite nods. Just as she intended to deceive my family into rejecting me as she had in the past, I promptly alter her thoughts. Is that old, portly man Xinqiang's father? His belly rivals that of a woman with 8 months of pregnancy. My goodness, he hasn't shaved and looks utterly grotesque. Is that overly cosmetically enhanced zombie her mother? Wasn't it said that wealthy individuals are all elegant ladies? Why do I feel she appears more rustic than the elderly women in our village? Her brother is equally amusing, wearing AJ sneakers at home. I can't tell whether they're real or fake, but he certainly seems to be trying too hard. His dark circles are nearly down to his chest, and he looks utterly unattractive. How on earth does Shin Chong manage to live in this household? Is she a ninja turtle? It's truly astonishing. These remarks were meticulously crafted to strike at the most vulnerable points of my family. My father feared being called fat, my mother detested being labeled unattractive, and my brother loathed being accused of flaunting counterfeit items. After my family heard her inner thoughts, chaos erupted. My mother, unable to contain her outrage, exclaimed, "What are you doing in my house? You wretched girl from the backwoods. Don't you know to take off your shoes upon entering? You've brought your country dirt into our home. Do you have any idea how expensive our carpet is? It's all custom-made from abroad, worth at least 200,000. You'll never earn that much in your lifetime. Truly ridiculous." My mother was notorious for her sharp tongue and narrow-mindedness within the circle of affluent ladies, and she held a deep disdain for the impoverished. With my recent alterations to her thoughts, my mother's first impression of Zhou Xinran plummeted to an all-time low, and she offered her no semblance of kindness. Zhou Xinran's face turned ashen, disbelief washing over her as she gazed at my mother. She had no inkling that I had modified her thoughts and merely found my mother's reaction unfathomable. I overheard her think, "How could this happen? Shouldn't they accept my proposal and treat me as their true heiress?" System, what on earth is going on? I could not hear the system's response to her, but I continued to relish in modifying her thoughts. That old hag is still berating me. How amusing. Who knows if that carpet is even real? It's all just a facade. One's persona is self-created in public, and that carpet might have been procured for mere pennies. What pretense of wealth is this? I bet they rent this place. It's utterly laughable. My mother was infuriated by her thoughts, immediately rushing upstairs to retrieve her luxury items and real estate documents to prove her affluence. 3. Observing my mother hastily ascend the stairs, Zhou Xinran became increasingly bewildered. What on earth is happening? Why isn't the plot unfolding as expected? System, are you even functioning properly? My brother and father exchanged bewildered glances in the living room when they suddenly heard Zhou Xinran's thoughts. That old hag has just fled, leaving only these two ugly beasts and a fat pig behind. Had I known, I would have brought some cabbage to alleviate the odor. At the very least, garlic would do. Standing here, I feel utterly uncomfortable, overwhelmed by the stench of pig. But alas, I cannot leave now. I still wish to extract some money from them, for I am a struggling student with no funds of my own. I must rely on the wealthy for a bit of financial assistance. Shundi erupted in anger, directing his ire towards me. Shin Chong, how many times must I tell you not to associate with dubious characters? Why do you persist in ignoring my counsel? It's one thing to befriend such a girl, but to disclose our home address? You've brought misfortune upon our precious land. I quickly clarified, I never disclosed our address to her. Do you have any idea how she learned where we live? Shundi immediately grasped the gravity of the situation, seizing Zhou Xinran's arm and twisting it behind her back. Did you follow my sister? You've grown quite audacious, coming to our home to beg for money as a pauper? Are you out of your mind? Have you looked in the mirror lately? Are you perpetually living in a fantasy? If you are truly so impoverished, perhaps you should drop out and find a job instead of lingering here with your nonsensical antics. Zhou Xinran, on the verge of tears, protested, "No, I didn't. I did not follow her. My father, a man of temperament, was incensed to hear his weight insulted, but he refrained from unleashing his fury on a younger person. Instead, he called the principal in front of Zhou Xinran. Principal Liu, is there a student named Zhou Xinran on the list of those we sponsor at your school? Cease the sponsorship immediately. Your school should permanently blacklist her from the financial aid list. She is unworthy of receiving poverty assistance. Being permanently blacklisted from the aid list is a severe punishment reserved for notably dishonest students. Our school typically reserves such measures for those who falsely claim extreme poverty to fraudulently obtain funds. Even if she were to achieve the highest rank in her department, the school would still deny her any rewards. Here in Haishur, where land is as precious as gold, the cost of living is inherently higher than in ordinary cities. Should she lose her financial aid, she would find herself praying for a miracle each day. Upon hearing this, Zhou Xinran became utterly panicked. In a moment of desperation, she knelt before my father, begging, "Uncle, I implore you, please don't suspend the aid. I truly need this money. Our home is barren, devoid of any possessions. Please. Without this assistance, I cannot survive." My father brushed her hand away from his trousers, dismissing her pleas. What does that have to do with me? That day, the echoes of her heartache lingered in the living room. Why is this happening to me? I despise you all. How could you treat me this way? Your family will face retribution. I am the heroine of this story, and yet you treat me with such cruelty. Later, my brother forcibly expelled her from our home, restoring peace to our household. During lunch, they could no longer contain their curiosity and inquired, "Where did you meet such a peculiar girl? Make sure to avoid her in the future." I nervously rubbed my hands together, replying, "Understood. Just wait. Once I deal with Zhou Xinran, the next to face my wrath will be the three of you." My previous life ended in such tragedy, largely due to your meddling. This time, none of you shall escape unscathed. The following day, Fuxi adamantly refused to ride in my car. He stood tall, regarding my family's Rolls-Royce with disdain. "I will not share a vehicle with you on our way to school. Even if you plead with me, I will not accompany you in the same car." In my previous life, it was only moments before my demise that I learned he had long been entangled with Zhou Xinran. Due to Fuxi's status as an illegitimate child, he had endured a few years of hardship. He felt a profound connection with Zhou Xinran, while I was merely a lofty heiress. Every time he was with me, he found my adherence to etiquette burdensome. Little did he know that I simply disliked the sound of slurping during meals. I merely requested he refrain from eating in the car. Thus, if my instincts were correct, he was already covertly flirting with Zhou Xinran behind my back. His refusal to ride with me today was a deliberate act of defiance. How amusing. He truly believed he was being clever. Who said men lack cunning? I observed him closely. Although his family resides in the same villa district as ours, we are from a century-old prestigious family, while his family is merely a nouveau riche that flourished a few years ago. Their luxury vehicles had long been sold off. Had it not been for me, he would never have experienced the luxury of a starlit roof. In the face of his submissive expression, I boldly jumped into the car, declaring, "Uncle Zhang, drive. We're running late." Just as the car was about to pull away, Fuxi finally reacted. "Shenchang, what are you doing?" I shot him a glance, "Going to school." He shouted in frustration, "Why aren't you driving me?" I retorted, "You were the one who said you wouldn't ride with me. Don't you always preach that a man's word is his bond? What's wrong? Did you forget your courage at home today?" His retort was stifled, leaving him to curse at me from his position. I must say, the soundproofing of the Rolls-Royce is superb. Once the windows are rolled up, I cannot hear a thing. Upon arriving at school, I soon discovered that my classmates could also hear Zhou Xinran's innermost thoughts. This must be the result of her so-called system. However, upon testing it, I realized I could still alter her thoughts. Thus, I resolved to completely expose her hypocritical facade, ensuring that everyone could see her true nature. As I settled into my seat, my backpack in tow, Zhou Xinran turned to me and said, "Shenchang, you don't seem well. Don't take to heart what my uncle and aunt said last night. I will not undergo a paternity test. Rest assured, even if I were truly their child, I would not seek to usurp your position." Yet, at that moment, her true thoughts were, "Why must this fake heiress treat me this way? She has already stolen over 20 years of my privileged life. Yet she forbids me from acknowledging my true heritage, preventing me from being with my biological parents. Why must my fate be so cruel? Oh heavens, is there no one who can save this pitiful true heiress?" I alter her thoughts to read, "Heaven help me, Xin Chang must never reveal my relationship with Fuxi to my classmates. Though I may appear to be the interloper, the unloved one is the true third party. I have done nothing wrong. Our classmates are all shallow." Climbing the social ladder, once I discreetly obtain a paternity test to pass off as the true heiress of the Shin family, I will take my rightful place. These snobbish peers, one by one, will pay. The classroom erupted in chaos. Zhou Xinran, who is typically viewed as a gentle and virtuous representative of the impoverished, was suddenly unmasked. Everyone had assumed her to be a kind-hearted girl from a small town, and thus showered her with care and favor. Now, they were taken aback to discover she not only intruded upon my relationship with Fuxi, but also aspired to seize my rightful identity as the true heiress. The illusion shattered, and the students cast her disdainful glances. I addressed her, "Class is about to start. Kindly refrain from speaking." At last, I experienced the thrill of ensnaring Zhou Xinran in her own trap. In my previous life, I wondered if she felt the same satisfaction when she ensnared me. Now, It was my turn to revel in her discomfort. Watching her flounder filled me with delight. Throughout the entire class, I relentlessly alter her thoughts. Wang Qi is hideously unattractive. Why doesn't she tie back those buck teeth? Every time I speak with her, I fear her teeth might jab me. Who smells so foul? Is it Lin Dandan? A stench reminiscent of rotting fish. Does she have some gynecological issue? What is that lanky monkey staring at me for? Is he infatuated? Without a dowry of at least 800,000, I have no interest in him. As the morning classes drew to a close, Fu Shi hurriedly arrived. His family had recently encountered difficulties, and in an effort to salvage their severed financial ties, his father had sold all the cars they could part with, leaving only a mini BMW, which he drove himself. Given that our university and the villa district were quite distant, the commute took over 2 hours by car, and any other form of transport would only prolong the journey. Fu Shi refused to ride in my car for Zhou Xinran's sake. Of course, even if he did, I would not permit him to board. Regardless, he had already skipped 4 classes today. With the final exams approaching, the school was cracking down on absenteeism. He had been recorded for 4 missed classes by the student council, and the teacher had noted his name. Now, in our junior year, we were on the cusp of internships, and the school mandated that anyone failing 4 courses in a semester would be forced to repeat the year. He has already become a junior in the reserves. How amusing. Recently, the final exam week has arrived, bringing with it a heavy burden of academic responsibilities. I returned to the house I purchased near the school for the sake of convenience in studying. One day at noon, while I was having lunch, the smart door lock suddenly began emitting a series of failed verification alerts, startling me greatly. I hurriedly opened my phone to check the locks app. The person outside attempting to unlock the door was none other than Fu Shi. By the time he reached the 10th incorrect password entry, he was drenched in sweat, his frustration palpable. He pounded on my door, exclaiming, "Xincheng, when did you change the password? Open the door quickly. I own half of this house, and my belongings are still inside. On what grounds do you lock me out?" This insufferable man truly knows how to take advantage of a situation. When I bought the house near the school, he criticized me for being extravagant. "You're spending money that isn't yours. It's your parents' money, and you waste it so carelessly. I won't say anything now since we're not married, but once we are, if you continue to squander like this, I won't let it slide." At the time, I thought he was just a poor soul who had never experienced much. In hindsight, it feels like I was subjected to psychological manipulation. How naive I was back then, oblivious to the underlying implications of his words. Now, reflecting on it makes me feel as though I've swallowed a fly, utterly repugnant. As for his claim that he owns half of the house, it merely stems from his insistence years ago to claim a room of mine. He has spent one night here, and now he believes he owns half of it. Good heavens! What an opportunist. I couldn't be bothered to engage with him. So, I promptly summoned the security. 5 minutes later, tranquility returned outside my door. During the final exams, Zhou Xinran had thoroughly alienated her classmates. In recent times, her affair with Fu Shi had become common knowledge. They no longer hid their relationship, and everyone was aware of my engagement to Fu Shi. If all goes according to plan, we shall marry after graduation. I am the one who has been financially supporting her, making her actions a blatant betrayal. Consequently, she has garnered widespread disdain. As the saying goes, those who are righteous attract support, while those who are not find themselves isolated. She now finds no one willing to associate with her and can only cling to Fu Shi. Over the past few days, he has inundated me with messages, asserting that his dalliance with Zhou Xinran was merely a pastime, and that I am his true love. I am the only one he considers his wife. His current behavior is simply a manifestation of pity for Zhou Xinran. Now that Zhou Xinran has been ostracized by many, he claims that without him, she would succumb to loneliness and potentially fall into depression, or even take her own life. How laughable. He truly sees himself as a savior. I chose to ignore him, but that doesn't imply I wouldn't stir the pot. Today would mark the moment of their rupture. During the exam, students were seated according to their roll numbers, placing them far apart. However, Zhou Xinran, perceiving Fu Shi's struggles, took it upon herself to offer him answers. I couldn't resist meddling. When she said A, I changed it to C. When she said D, I altered it to B. Many classmates noticed the discrepancies, and those who had initially been eager to listen quietly resorted to their own calculations. Only Fu Shi remained blissfully unaware. submitting a test paper that would surely earn him a score of 0, strutting out with unwarranted pride. I followed closely behind, stealthily executing my plan to sabotage their communication. The two of them walked hand in hand, occasionally stealing kisses. After some time, Zhou Xinran tearfully inquired, when will you finally move me out of the dorm? The people here are bullying me. I truly can't stay in this dorm any longer. They all say I'm a mistress. I merely fell in love with you. How did I become the other woman? Brother, is loving you a sin? I refuse to accept that. Fu Shi clenched his fists in frustration. Rest assured, I will compel Xin Chang to relinquish that apartment. When I bought it, I made it clear that if she wanted to marry me, the property had to be in my name. But she refused to listen, insisting that while she could live there, she wouldn't relinquish ownership. What a joke. Once we marry, everything she owns will be mine. Why act so high and mighty as if I'm trying to take what rightfully belongs to me? Hearing this, I was overwhelmed with the urge to slap him. At that moment, Zhou Xinran's thought surfaced. Is he still contemplating marrying Xin Chang? What will I do then? No way. I must devise a plan to secure him tightly. I immediately altered it to, is Fu Shi merely a pauper? I've heard he's a love child, and such individuals are typically of low standing. He's accustomed to being the other man. I refuse to play that role. At just over 20, his physical condition rivals that of a 70-year-old. If not for his wealth, would I even consider being with him? Every interaction leaves me feeling utterly repulsed. Should he be a mere pauper, I would ensure his ruin. Upon hearing these thoughts, Fu Shi's expression transformed from affection to shock. He pointed an accusatory finger at Zhou Xinran, exclaiming, You really think I'm an unworthy love child? On what grounds do you hold such an opinion? I never despised you for your humble origins. I am far wealthier than you could imagine, you know? I at least hold a residency in Haishur. I live in a villa. My annual maintenance fees exceed the value of your family's entire house. Why pretend to look down on me? You think you can do better? How ridiculous. Zhou Xinran was left in a state of panic, desperately attempting to clarify, You've misunderstood. I could never think such a thing of you. I'm not that kind of person. Witnessing their public quarrel escalate to the point of physical altercation, I finally felt at ease to depart. The real drama was just beginning. As summer vacation commenced, I began my apprenticeship within the family business. My brother is a quintessential second-generation heir, a complete layabout lacking any ambition, preferring leisure over diligence, and showing no interest in learning. Yet, due to his gender, the family entrusted him with all the assets. In my previous life, Zhou Xinran had been infatuated. Her sole aim to marry Fu Shi, neglecting all else. As a result, the Shun family business fell into the hands of Shindi, collapsing within 4 to 5 years due to his mismanagement. I am determined to reclaim our family fortune, preserve the Shun enterprise, assume the role of CEO, and ensure that the three of them lead lives of turmoil. I am someone who holds grudges. I will not allow any of them to live comfortably. I vow to make their lives miserable. At the company, I dedicated myself to learning until late into the night, returning home only at 11. I quickly became familiar with various departments, far surpassing Shindi, who, despite being a vice president, rarely showed up for work. New employees even assumed I was the only child in the family. Gradually, whispers began circulating about my impending inheritance of the Shun enterprise. I immediately arranged numerous interviews, cultivating an image of my father, Shen Jianshan, as a man who favored daughters over sons and valued competence above all else, an image quite in vogue. After successfully establishing this narrative, our company's profits began to soar. My father, a businessman at heart, would inevitably gravitate toward the path I had meticulously laid out for him. He even registered a short video account. Every day, I share snippets of my life indulging my beloved daughter. Under the deliberate guidance of the online influencers I orchestrated, I found myself appointed as the vice president of the group, seated at a desk within his office. Gradually, perhaps due to the incessant fabrications, he genuinely began to believe he loved me. Whenever faced with a decision, he would solicit my opinion. Nuan, what do you think we should do? Daddy will heed your counsel. When others gifted his daughter a house or a car, he would follow suit, of course. All for the purpose of filming and sharing online to garner more followers. Middle-aged men thrive on flattery. He basked in the praises of being a good father, becoming increasingly lost in the adulation. He hardly acknowledged my brother anymore, dismissing him as a hopeless case, while extolling his daughter as his cherished treasure. A year later, upon graduating from university, while my peers toiled to secure employment, I had already emerged as a distinguished businesswoman, founding my own company and brand. I also held a significant vice presidential position within the Shun Group. Occasionally, when my subordinates faced dilemmas, they would consult me directly rather than my father. The moment I wielded real power, my first act was to acquire the ailing Fu Corporation. On the day of the acquisition discussions, I personally attended. The secretary, upon seeing us, flushed with urgency. "Young President Fu is busy. You cannot enter," she insisted. I pointed to the slightly ajar door. "Isn't this door open?" The secretary stammered, trying to block our entry. "You really cannot go in. It's quite inconvenient." Her evasiveness only spurred me on. Adopting the identity of his fiancé, I declared, "Step aside. I am still engaged to your President Fu, and our betrothal remains unbroken." "Dare you obstruct me?" the secretary gasped. "What? President Fu has a fiancé? What about Secretary Zhou?" Before she could process the situation, I stormed into the president's office with my entourage. Upon entering, I was met with an eye-watering scene. In broad daylight, two individuals were entangled in a fervent embrace. The moment Fu Shi spotted me, he hurled his laptop at me. "Get out. What are you doing here with so many people?" I dodged the computer and couldn't help but smile at the shattered fragments on the floor. A laptop worth thousands had been reduced to ruins. He would undoubtedly pay for his actions today, as he would never again afford such a fine device. I looked at him and stated, "I am here to discuss the acquisition." Fu Shi glared at me fiercely. "You wish to acquire Fu Corporation? I shall not sell." Zhou Xinran, finally managing to dress, hid behind him. "Sister, it was my fault. I seduced President Fu. Please don't be angry with him. Do not be so ruthless towards your fiancé. Since our families agreed to a union, we share both glory and shame. Why quarrel over such trivial matters?" Fu Shi nodded fervently in agreement. "Indeed. Xinran is right." I shot them both an incredulous look. "Do you truly think such nonsense constitutes high emotional intelligence?" Zhou Xinran's inner thoughts were audible to everyone present. Yet I needn't intervene. Her words were already offensive. "Shen Chong is quite amusing. Busy with her career, she must be experiencing a hormonal imbalance. Is having wealth truly impressive? After all, she lacks male companionship. Seeing me close to her fiancé must have driven her mad, hasn't it? Ha ha ha. Unloved ones are merely mistresses, discarded spouses. Gathering such a crowd to catch me in the act? How laughable. Does she truly think I lack contingency plans? I have long siphoned off funds from Fu Corporation and am preparing to immigrate. My green card is ready. Ha ha ha. Even if I cannot thrive here, I will flourish abroad." Everyone in attendance was taken aback. Their lives were relatively normal, and encounters with eccentric personalities were scarce. Zhou Xinran's outrageous remarks left many with a slight shock to their worldview. Some even cast sympathetic glances in my direction. Little did they know, I relished her insanity. The more deranged, the better, as the saying goes. To drive someone to their end, one must first drive them mad. She was not far from self-destruction. Fu Shi seized her by the throat, his eyes blazing with fury. "Did you take my money?" "I didn't cough cough, I didn't she stammered. Fu Corporation's employees quickly intervened, fearing he might truly lose his temper and harm her. I stood elegantly, observing their farce, wishing I had a bag of sunflower seeds to enjoy. The news of Shun's acquisition of Fu Corporation trended, announcing its complete rebranding to Chong Corporation. Many questioned why I did not retain the Shun name, as I aspired to create my own commercial empire. Fu Shi initially intended to report Zhou Xinran, seeking to imprison her for economic crimes, but unexpectedly, at a critical juncture, she revealed her pregnancy. This child instantly became her shield against prosecution. They embarked on a venture together, utilizing the remaining funds to open a store, preparing for marriage and parenthood. I remained utterly disinterested in their affairs. Should they cross my mind, I would discreetly arrange minor troubles for them. My focus shifted to the family power struggle. My relatives gradually recognized my ambitions. Yet they hesitated to confront me, aware I had secured control over the Shen family's name and influence. My father wished to voice his concerns, but dared not speak. My mother, however, occasionally advised me, as a girl, isn't it better to focus on family and raising children? Why pursue the path of a strong woman? I truly worry for you. enduring the sun and wind daily. I smiled. I am chauffeured in luxury, residing in a villa, working in an office. Rest assured, I am shielded from the elements. She continued, even if you manage the Shin family well, what will happen when you marry? All the family assets go to your brother? I chuckled. Not to worry, mother. I can always find someone to marry into our family. Nowadays, men are quite fond of wealth. As long as I offer enough, they will come. My mother fell silent. With power firmly in my grasp, even their living expenses were funded by me. If they dared to provoke me, I could easily feign ignorance and cut off their cards, rendering them compliant. My financial control over them was absolute. The day of revelation approached swiftly. Shindi demanded my authority. Why must you, a woman, seize my possessions? Do you not think you are being excessive? Across the entirety of Haicheng, how many daughters inherit family wealth when sons are present? I patted his shoulder reassuringly. Calm down, brother. You must possess a fair assessment of your capabilities, having worked in the company previously. How long do you believe you can sustain Shin Corporation? There's an old Chinese saying, those who recognize the times are the true talents. If you are content to remain a leisurely vice president, I will pay you a monthly salary of 200,000. Should you insist on contesting me, I can easily lead Shin Corporation's employees to collectively resign and establish a new Shin Corporation. Shindi was swayed by my words. After signing the employment agreement, he ceased to confront me. Seeing that the party involved had grown disinterested in disputing, my parents also deemed it unnecessary, feigning ignorance as if nothing had transpired. Thus, I effortlessly ascended to power, becoming the true Mr. Shin. Yet, I did not forget the cruelty they had inflicted upon me in my previous life. With nothing better to do, I instructed the housekeeper to mistreat them. They endured their suffering in silence, clutching my money, unable to confront me directly, and thus, they had no choice but to endure. Each time I returned home, they would desperately seek me out to voice their grievances. I would feign ignorance, reprimanding the housekeeper instead. Observing their discontent brought me immense joy daily. This time further validated my beliefs. The so-called apocalypse was merely a fabrication. A decade later, I had yet to witness the arrival of such a calamity. Instead, my commercial empire had expanded significantly. On one occasion, while attending a meeting, I absent-mindedly forgot to bring a document. An employee rushed to deliver it to me. To my surprise, the courier was Zhou Xinran. Upon seeing me, she immediately concealed her face with her hair, and after inquiring about my retrieval code, she hastily attempted to depart. I sensed the animosity lurking in her eyes, and I couldn't help but feel wary. She had always been a petty person, and I believed that her nature remained unchanged. Surely, witnessing my success would evoke jealousy within her, making her feel as though I had usurped her opportunities. As anticipated on my return home that evening, I overheard her thoughts in the underground parking lot. Everything was supposed to go according to plan last time. I, too, had become a wealthy heiress, marrying into the immensely affluent Fu family. Why, then, has this life turned out so differently? It was then that I realized she had also been reborn. It seemed her system had malfunctioned, yet the affliction of her thoughts remained audible to all. Concealed behind a pillar in the parking garage, she believed herself to be flawlessly hidden, but her inner turmoil had already reached me. I inquired with my secretary about any recent developments concerning Fu Shi. It was then I learned of his misfortunes. He had opened a restaurant, but due to poor business, he had failed to restock fresh ingredients. Cooking with spoiled, filthy meat and vegetables, he had caused customers to fall ill. The establishment was subsequently shut down, and he had incurred significant financial losses. Left with no choice, he resorted to delivering takeout and driving for a ride-hailing service to make ends meet. However, the income barely sufficed to support his small family, let alone provide for his parents. Zhou Xinran could no longer bear the strain, leading to daily quarrels between them. In a desperate bid, Fu Shi shamelessly became a gigolo for a wealthy woman. Initially, they managed to sustain themselves with the money he earned. Yet, when the wealthy woman's husband discovered the affair, he sent henchmen to brutally assault him, leaving him severely injured. Now, he languished at home with a colostomy bag, too fearful to venture outside. With no other option, Zhou Xinran was forced to shoulder the family's burdens. Thus, when she saw me, adorned in opulent attire at a high-end business event, her defenses crumbled completely. As I gripped the steering wheel, Restarting my vehicle, it seemed she had forgotten that I was a woman of considerable wealth, with properties exceeding her total savings. I had relocated elsewhere. She could linger as long as she wished. The end of the narrative. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next tale.